You want results you haven't suffered for yet. And that's exactly why you've been stuck in the same situation for years on end, especially if you're over 30. You know, everyone wants to do exceptionally well for themselves in life. Everyone wants that top 1% physique. Everyone wants to have everything figured out. Everyone wants the mindset, the discipline, the confidence. Everyone wants their dream situation and scenario. But in all of those cases comes a significant amount of responsibility and suffering that is required along the way to get to that point, to have those things, right? And a lot of people don't understand or quite get the amount of suffering that is required to get there. And don't get me wrong, I'm not perfect. I'm nowhere near what I want to be. I'm not talking on this from a point of perfection, but just something I'm learning and, you know, accepting as I go through these things and face problems on a day-to-day basis that I overcome in my fitness, growing my business, and helping guys, you know, become the best versions of themselves. Right? I'm experiencing these things firsthand, and which is why I wanted to speak on them. I see it when I talk to some guys and they say they want these things and they say they want the physique and the confidence and to look a certain way. And they accept, some of them, that they're staying stuck in their comfort zone and they don't like stepping out. But that's exactly why it's a comfort zone. I don't think some guys realize how much you have to be okay with suffering to break through and have the things you want for a consistent basis. You know, I still see some guys acknowledging the fact that they're not doing enough and nothing's changing about it. You know, and it's frustrating to see because I was there for so long, you know, as I was overthinking about everything, procrastinating, and dealt with all of those problems. And as someone who used to be in those exact same shoes, it's difficult to see when I try and help them out and I give them everything I possibly can in the moment to urge them to take the jump and step out of their comfort zone, just for them to sort of close up and, you know, sort of be okay accepting that they're not doing enough and they're okay where they are. When in reality, I know deep down, if they had it any other way, they would jump to that end result or the place they want to be or the physique they have. They would jump there in an instant. But it's just their comfort zone is swallowing them whole. It's taking their life, it's taking them by the neck and just drowning them, right? And these things take time. You know, everything you want takes time. So when you just eliminate the decision fatigue, eliminate the procrastination, then you'll be able to channel that energy and the drive and desperation you want into changing, into making it happen. But when all your energy is being channeled into thinking about making it happen, whether you should start something, it just mentally exhausts you and drains you. And at the same time, you don't progress in any way, shape or form. And I know how painful that situation is. I know how frustrating it is to wake up every single day and be constantly reminded you're not good enough, or you see your potential and you don't at the same time live up to it. You don't do anything in your life to suggest that you're looking to become that person or looking to level up. And it's frustrating and it's a really difficult situation to be. You know, and there's going to come a time where you have to make the decision, you have to make the jump, because you are going to face problems, you are going to face issues if your health isn't in check, if you're not mentally improving and self-improving and doing those things on a day-to-day basis and actively trying to improve your life. You know, you will, unfortunately, as harsh as it sounds, get out-competed. You will have opportunities grabbed straight from you. And, you know, especially if you're over 30, you know, you're a busy guy who has responsibilities, maybe you have a family, and you're obviously ambitious and financially driven, and health is that sort of last thing that you feel like you need. 100%, you know, when you finally stop accepting that each path you go down is going to require pain and suffering, and you can't fast track any of those sort of journeys, you know, there is a set amount of time, no matter which path you go down, for where you're going to see essentially the results of whatever path you choose. And those two paths are, you take action now, you become the best version of yourself, and you invest in yourself, you know, with healthy foods, with a gym membership, with, you know, at home workout equipment, however it is you like to do your training, and become the best version of yourself and stay consistent with those things. Or you invest in, you know, medical fees, hospital bills, and, you know, health scares down the line that you don't want to deal with, and things you don't want to deal with, and things that are more painful down the line that you just don't want to have to deal with, right? And I can't say it any other way. But it's frustrating, you know, because it's all about the art of discipline and showing up for yourself today, because it's never going to get any easier as you age and as you have more responsibilities and as things come your way to get in shape. And especially if you are 30 plus, you know, you're probably missing out on the structure, you're missing out on the guidance, you're overwhelmed with information, because I know I certainly was when I started. I had no idea what I was doing for the first 7 to 8 months, and I was going around in circles, program hopping, all because I was so desperate to achieve one goal. But it felt like every ounce of action I took was just in the wrong direction. I just kept mining everywhere around the gold but towards it, right? And it was so frustrating. And if you guys are in the same position where maybe you're in the same spot, or maybe you haven't even taken action yet because you're not sure where to start, you're so overwhelmed and being so consumed by all this information and conflicting opinions that you haven't even taken that first step for yourself. Once again, I completely understand that. But you do have to do something about it. You do have to come up with a plan, write things down, get into structure, find guidance if that's something you want to do. You know, someone who's there and helping you, by your side, helping you, who wants to see you win every single step of the way and is just holding your hand until you become the best version of yourself. Like myself, that's exactly what I do. But, you know, you don't have to obviously go with me. There's other guys that do it great as well. I'm not going to pretend. But that being said, you do have to have structure. You do have to have some self-respect, and you do have to take action that you're not currently taking. You know, one piece of advice that really changed a lot for me when I was juggling school, work, you know, going to the gym, competitive sports, and just everything else, was that I used to think going to the gym and eating healthy was a chore. I used to think it was something that took away from your time and held you back from your potential and stopped you from doing other things. But in reality, if you make it something that works with you, you know, you go to the gym 3 times a week for 45 minutes, you have a real structure, you prioritize progressive overload, you prioritize compound movements and getting stronger, training with intensity, not using it for a social life, not using it for a social, you know, experiment, not talking to everyone, not wasting time, but getting in with an intention, with a structure, with a plan, and you get out. And then you go home, you eat clean. And if you have, you know, maybe you have work, maybe you work 10-hour days, you have a business you run, you're working for someone, whatever it looks like. If you're a busy, ambitious guy who is financially driven and wants the best for yourself and your family, you can try meal prepping on the weekends. Try meal prepping. You know, I used to think meal prepping was so restrictive, but it's only restrictive for an hour, and then you save loads of time throughout the week, and you have healthy whole meals that are high in protein, good for you, and will help you get closer towards your goals, rather than wasting your time and energy thinking, oh, should I have this? Where should I go? You just waste so much more time and money and energy making decisions that might not actually benefit you. So yes, you have to be more intentional and understand the art of discipline. But no matter what you do, whether you decide to take action on yourself or whether you procrastinate and pay hospital bills or, you know, bills that you just, or medicine or whatever it takes to, you know, become the best version of yourself, just take action now. Make some steps now. Upgrade your habits now. You know, start researching and learning about the best foods to eat depending on your fitness goals and healthy whole foods. Because that truly is what's going to make all the difference and is going to allow you to perform better mentally, perform better physically, be more respected by your family and children if you have any, and operate more efficiently within your job, within your work. So if you take that seriously, take your health and fitness seriously, because you've already mastered the discipline in one area. You just have to transfer it to your health, mind, body, and physique. You know, if you already have that discipline, it's just something you need to add on that's going to enhance the quality of your life. But that being said, I am going to repeat myself. Also, the lights have been flashing all video. Hope you like them. That being said, you will experience suffering one way or another. Whether it's the suffering of discipline, the suffering of showing up when, you know, maybe you don't have 100% energy. Maybe you haven't eaten as much as you like. But at the end of the day, do you want to show up for yourself now, or show up financially in the future when you're in a hospital bed, wishing you took some action back then, wishing you stopped telling yourself when this is done, when it makes more sense to do this, when I have more time. Each journey, each route is going to include some degree of suffering, and if you want that physique and you want you want to be free in your own body and you want to start making progress on your health, understand it is something it's a learning curve. It's something you trial and error for yourself. You're not going to start perfect, but understand the man that takes imperfect action consistently will absolutely always win and come out on top from the guy who waits and waits and waits for the perfect time and never takes any action whatsoever, right? So be the guy that steps out of that uncomfortable situation you're in and actually go down the route of where you help yourself become the best version of yourself. It's going to require you to step out of your comfort zone, to do things slightly differently, try things you maybe have never done, but you already have the discipline. You already have the mindset. You're already ambitious and driven and hardworking and consistent. You show up every day for your work, your business. You have meetings and things you take care of, right? You just have to schedule in your calendar workout just like it's a meeting. It's as simple as that. And then you show up for yourself and you'll feel so much better after it. And you pair that with good nutrition and you stay consistent, and there'll come a point where you just enjoy doing those things. It'll be a part of who you are. Everything will improve because of it. You'll be more mentally clear, more mentally agile. You'll be more productive. And you'll have a healthier quality of life, and you'll save yourself time, energy, and money in the long run. And something you do have to realize is, as someone who is 30 plus and has responsibilities, maybe you have been living a sedentary lifestyle. Maybe you've been abusing caffeine. You've been eating the processed food that goes around in the office, the biscuits, the muffins, the things that get handed out. Maybe you have been eating those kind of foods. And I've seen it so many times where guys will go from having these bad habits and, living a certain way to trying to go from 0 to 100 in like 2 days. And that's not how you create a sustainable, consistent routine where you're going to enjoy fitness. If you do it like that, you're not going to see results. You're just going to be tanking your, hormones and your testosterone. You're not going to be functioning how you should be. And it's just not going to work, right? You're not going to see any results. Because so many guys, when they have body fat or they're looking to build muscle, whatever it is, they try and completely ramp up the calories or completely restrict themselves when they haven't even got the foundation to do those things. They think restricting themselves is the answer. But if you're eating 1,000 calories and you're still not losing weight, understand it's not because you're eating too much. It's not because of that, right? When it comes to building muscle and losing fat, you have to already be standing on a firm foundation, right? You can't come from rock bottom having all these things and expect for it to be easy to go either way. And why is that, right? I'm going to tell you why. Because you have not been treating your body right so far. You've been abusing caffeine, living a sedentary lifestyle, like I said, not getting your daily movement in, not hitting 10K steps. And as a result, your hormones and your testosterone and your metabolism have all, dropped and decreased to the level that you've sort of told your body it needs to go to, right? It has no reason. Why do you need high testosterone when essentially you're feeding it rubbish foods? You're not eating right, you're not eating enough, and you're not actually working out, right? You're not doing the things that give your body life and energy, right? There's a reason you feel that way, and it's not because you need to restrict yourself more. It is, quite frankly, you need to slowly increase the calories, right? And start moving, start prioritizing your nutrition, and start eating right and building good habits so you can build that foundation, slowly get your testosterone back to where it needs to be. And when you get to that point, it does take, a few weeks, maybe a couple months, depending from where you start, to get to that point. And even at that point, you'll feel so much better. And from there, you can then start gradually increasing your calories over time if you're looking to build muscle. And then from there, figure out what you need to actually eat to lose fat, right? You can gradually decrease your calories, okay? And when you do that, it'll be so much easier to lose fat and build muscle, because your body won't think food is scarce anymore. It has this foundation. You won't be so insulin resistant because you'll be eating enough, and you'll be supplying your body with the right nutrients and like vitamins and everything it needs to perform. And now you're actually at that optimum level to where your testosterone will be where it needs to be, because you're fueling it with enough healthy fats and carbs, protein, everything you need to function. And then it'll be easy to build muscle and lose fat. But you keep trying to do those things instantly in 2 days, and you don't have the firm foundation. It's like trying to build a house, a straight house on a beach full of rocks, right? There's no firm foundation. There's no, there's nothing really to support it. There's no leveling out. It doesn't make sense, right? You don't build a firm foundation. Sorry, you don't build a house on a wonky foundation, because it's pretty simple. Why, right? It's all going to come crumbling down. It's not going to look how you want. It's not going to perform the same. And that's exactly like your body. If you rush into it too soon and you go from 0 to 100, you're just not going to be able to have the results. You're just going to be restricting yourself and further killing your hormones and testosterone, and you'll just be feeling worse and worse and worse and worse, and it'll just have the opposite effect. So you do have to make sure you're eating enough, and making sure you're eating enough consistently until you have the energy back, until you've been doing it for a consistent amount of time, prioritizing your nutrition, and then go from there. That being said, that is going to wrap up the video. So the main concept is, if you are ambitious, hardworking, you're working to provide for your family and financial freedom, you're the black sheep of your family, 30 plus, and you want the best for yourself, you're trying to step out and do great things, understand, taking your health seriously is going to require some suffering in the beginning. There's going to be days where you don't want to do it. There's going to be days where it's going to feel like the hardest thing in the world. But the more you do it, the more, you get more used to that feeling, and then you'll enjoy it, and then it'll be less painful every time you do it. But it does require initial suffering and stepping out of your comfort zone to make it happen. The same way that if you don't make that choice, the alternate choice is keep putting it off, not seeing your full potential, paying in, time, energy, and money when you have to pay for hospital bills, you have to pay for medication and treatments, and you, quite frankly, are providing for your family, but you're not able to live free in the body you have. You're not able to spend time with your loved ones. You're not able to enjoy the fruits of your labor, because you're cutting your life short. You're cutting the way you feel about yourself, your confidence, the discipline in half, right? And you'll never see your potential if you stay stuck in your comfort zone forever, right? That being said, I hope you guys did find this helpful. And if you do want one-on-one coaching from me, and you want to fast track this process, have someone by your side who wants to see you win and is willing to do everything in their power to make it happen, because my guys are so valuable to me, and I genuinely care about them so much, more than anything, right? So if you are wanting to hop on, right, click the link in the description below. There'll be there'll be a link to a Calendly link where you guys can book a call with me. We can talk about where you're at, where you want to be, and see if you're a good fit. If not, if you want to learn more information and you're sort of interested but you're not sure yet, DM me the word change on Instagram and I'll reach out, sort of fill you in, give me some more info. There again, see sort of where you're at and where you want to be, and if it makes sense to hop on a call. All right, that being said, don't take this lightly. Seriously, if you think you're procrastinating, do take that action, because you'll be happy you started taking your health seriously the very second you do. Honestly, it will completely change your life. That being said, see you guys in the next one. Have a good night.